Hello, everyone, and welcome to Our Ventura TV. I'm Sandra Siepak. On today's show, I'd like to welcome Gary Butterworth. Gary is a Ventura County employee. He's a community volunteer, and he's also a former TV radio broadcaster here and also a weatherman. So I want to point that out as well. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Sandra, what a pleasure. I've been waiting to be on this show for quite a while, and it's such a treat to be with you.
We're very happy to have you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I like the one line that you sent to me, which was you like to refer to yourself as a 69-year-old teenager. And for our optimal aging series, I'd like you to share more about staying young, fit, healthy, vibrant, and share some advice for others out there on enjoying life at your age.
I've never stopped eating well, kind of the way I was raised. I've
Okay.
never stopped my workout regimen. I hit the gym several days a week. I run. I don't run marathons or anything like that, but I do
Okay.
wind sprints in the park, which always, again, gets that kind of skewed like, what, wind sprints? Yes, I actually do, because I didn't know you're not supposed to. So I still think of myself as normal, Sandra. I know others don't, but that's how I kind of see
Well,
myself.
that's all good to hear. I do want to ask you, as a Ventura County employee, how do you overcome being desk bound and working in a cubicle? And do you feel it's important to have, a little bit more socializing with the employees and friends around you when you're working?
That's such a great question because I'm trying to actually embody that right now. So the first thing
Okay.
I do is you'll almost never see me sitting down. I'm almost
Okay.
always standing because I can move. I taught tennis a little
Sure.
bit after high school,
Okay.
and I like this idea of ready position. I can go. If I sit down, all the energy drains out of my body. And so when I train and when I teach, you'll never ever see me sitting at a keyboard. I'm working the crowd and in and out of the audience and up on the stage if it's more of a formal kind of a thing. Take a lot of walking breaks throughout the day. I have many people that I walk with here. Actually, now that I think about it, they're all younger than me, not just many.
Right.
One day, Sandra, I was actually thinking just for the fun of a little thought experiment, I wonder if I'm the oldest person in this building. And I think I
No, I
probably
think,
am, actually.
and I think for you, the key that you're referring to is staying active. You stay active even at work. You seem to be very active.
I absolutely do. So we walk together. I have a group. I'm actually starting up a Blue Zone
Okay,
group. And of course, if you're familiar with Blue Zone, I'm sure your audience probably does, knowing the name of your show. It's these villages around the world in Costa Rica and Japan and a couple of other places where people live to 100 years old. And that's what I'm planning on doing.
good for
But with the
you.
caveat there is I'm living an active life to 100. So I don't
Very
plan on
good.
slowing down. And so I have all these activities. I have my golfing buddies, my bowling buddies, my volleyball buddies, my tennis buddies, my walking buddies. They're often not the same people. It's just I feel as though I get so much pleasure from running around on the court or just running around or just moving, getting that adrenaline flowing, getting the endorphins going
Right.
inside that it's such a great pleasure. You can be in a terrible mood and I'm human. Every now and then, someone will say, "Do you
Right.
ever get mad?" And I'll say, "Well, occasionally. I'm rarely around people, but sometimes I'll get a little upset with myself or whatever." And all I have to do is stop what I'm doing and just take a walk outside for
Well,
about 10 minutes.
I think that daily self discipline and the health and fitness program you're speaking about keeps you in good shape, keeps you positive, and that's all good. I think those are good things for everybody to um, take take into account, as you're saying.
I think you're right. And when I was younger, like younger athletes around the world, really, you're always moving. So you're always working out, you're always practicing. I'm not at that level anymore, but I'm always doing something where there's movement involved. I'm
Right.
rarely ever sedentary. I took 10 years of my life after grad school to fly around the country doing these one-day on-site seminars. Now, that's kind of what led me to the county, to being a professional facilitator, as we're calling me here today.
Right.
And the challenge there was it was very challenging for me because in that scenario, I'm staying in a hotel. I suddenly don't have a lot of control over what I eat, where I'm
Okay.
sleeping, the regimen, but Sandra, I was still able to keep that going and pretty much keep the same regimen I am now. I take fruit and vegetables into my room, rarely ever ate in restaurants, hardly ever. And I found a way to kind of use the gyms, in the hotels and all that, and then become a weekend warrior when I'm back in town. And by the way, speaking of eating, if I may, just real quickly, the other thing we know from blue zones, and I guess I'm just sort of a de facto blue zone member because for most of my adult life, it's always been about fruit and vegetables and nuts and seeds. So the plant-based is always the foundation. I'm not opposed to meat, so don't ever call me a vegetarian, and I don't mind
Okay.
people.
Right.
But I will have meat and chicken and fish occasionally, that sort of thing. I'm not opposed to it, but the foundation is always the fresh fruits and vegetables. And I found over the years, working out and just working, period, not just here at the county, but wherever, there are drains and gains you get from energy. And food and movement is a big part of that. And I know when I have to just, go off to my car for 10 minutes and close my eyes and just kind of recharge my battery and then come right back in, that and a cup of coffee, and I'm good to go.
Well, healthy eating, as you're saying, is very good for an active lifestyle, and it does keep you in good shape, as you're saying. As someone who is nearing future retirement, what advice do you have for those who may be facing retirement soon as well? It's a whole new chapter of life and a whole new identity. So, how do you feel about that?
So happy you asked me that question. Two words: vision board.
Okay.
Vision board. I actually put one together. It wasn't my idea. Someone asked me to do one for a staff meeting about a month ago. I didn't
Okay.
know what it was. I had to go on Wikipedia to figure out what it was. I'm so delighted I did because it forces you to examine your values. It forces you to examine what's important to you. What do you want to be doing after retirement? And what I discovered was, I mean, it wasn't a newsflash to know that my values are about, things
Sure.
like world peace and education and staying active and all of that. But what it did was it sort of focused my thinking in terms of what am I going to be doing after I retire? And the answer
Okay.
is not a whole lot different than I'm doing now. I
Okay.
just probably won't be getting up quite as early and
Okay.
5 days a week the way I've been doing for so many years. But I plan on being very active, as I think every retiree should be. And so my advice would be put a vision board together. You can Google that if you want more information on that. But most importantly, begin your post-retirement while you're still working. And this is why I have all of these. I'm calling it the Gary Butterworth work-life balance social network of friends. It's hard to put on a bumper sticker, I realize that. But I have these different groups that I'm already engaged with in terms of activity. And it's not just physical activity, it's going to plays here. I was at the Rubicon just a few weeks ago to see a play. It's music, it's all kinds, dancing. I was dancing out at
Good.
Ventura Music Hall. I'm not a very good dancer, but I can still move around a little bit. And it's all about just being with like-minded people. Most of them just happen to be younger than me because they're still active. So
Right.
for
So
me, it's
you're
all a
so
mindset. It's
so
the
I
great.
I I'm hearing from you that socializing and friends and family and fitness, those are some really important elements for you.
I totally agree with you. The only thing I really do by myself is probably my wind sprints where I run in the park on
Okay.
my own, as I'm trying to, get my blood pressure, not blood pressure, but just trying to get my, sweat going and all of that. But the reality is virtually everything I'm doing is with other people. And that, as you know, that's another blue zone kind of characteristic. So
Yep.
that's going to be my personal biggest challenge. I don't have to go out and be with other people after I retire. Today, I have
Right.
to be. And by the way, telework is not for me. No offense to anybody that teleworks, and a lot of people love it. It's just, what do the kids say, Sandra? It's not my jam, teleworking, because I have to be around people. And so the socialization process is very natural for me. I'll come back another time. We can talk about how I was very shy as a boy. And I turned into this social beast that you see right now in front of you on the screen.
Right. Well, I want to commend you. You have a very positive outlook, and that's great to share with our viewers, who as well may be finding that in their retirement years, they want to stay positive too. So that's all good to hear. In closing, what would you like to add about optimal aging and staying positive, as I'm mentioning, in life at your age and beyond?
What a great question. I think it is a mindset. It was the great Mark Twain that once said, age issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I really think, it begins in here. And if we're eating properly, and by the way, when I say eat properly, I mean, occasionally I'll have a hamburger or something and I'll enjoy it. If someone puts, something in front of me that's not the healthiest thing in the world, I'm not going to be rude and say, oh no, I can't eat that cheesecake. I'll have it, I'll enjoy it. And the next morning I'll go right back to my boring oatmeal. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's all a matter of your discipline. It's a matter of what you're doing every day. So I would say, if for me, the positivity starts in here.
Okay.
And I like to think, of myself as sort of, swimming through this kind of wild place that we call life. And I would prefer to take more of a comedic spin on it, more of a playful, fun sort of thing about it. And I found over the years that I tend to be around people that are more positive and less around people that are not so positive, maybe a little more pessimistic. And so you just tend to kind of naturally, organically weed out those friends that really aren't lending any positive sort of influence on your life. So it starts here and then it expresses in any way you wish. I happen to love sports and things like that, but of
Good.
course you could express it in any way that you see fit.
All good to hear. Very good to hear. So I'd like to thank you, Gary Butterworth, Ventura County employee and former TV broadcaster weatherman, for sharing more on your life, your career, your advice on health, fitness, and staying, really active in the community. That's all great. And this is terrific advice for all those 69-year-old teenagers out there.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Sandra. And of course, a free forecast, since I used to be in the prediction business, I don't see a drop of rain for many weeks ahead.
Very good. Well, thank you so very much for sharing your time. And I'd like to thank all of you for sharing on Our Ventura TV. We look forward to seeing you next time, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.